سال جهانی است که تشریف آوردن آقای کوتسير است که دستیار عمومی فدراسیون جهانی صلح هستند. اونا رو دعوت میکنیم که در ارتباط به موضوعی که در نظر گرفتن در ارتباط به افغانستان و حقوق بشر صحبتشون را با شما در میان بگذارم. Now I would like to invite Mr. کوتسير to the microphone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are very honored to be here on behalf of the... But it's always depending on the people who practice these human rights. So you know, in Holland we have the asylum issue. So everybody who is an asylum seeker has a right to stay in Holland according to law. But of course, not everybody can stay in Holland if you get the whole world there. So then the people make all kinds of other laws to make this right very small. Nowadays there's a lot of criticism that it became so small and also inhuman. And so human rights is not so easy. And it needs good people, that's the basic thing. When there's good people you can get good solutions. And that comes to the point of the importance to unite. That is the first point. You unite, that's very important. Somebody showed once a picture of many fishes, you know. If you have a school of fish, it looks big. And then the fish that likes to eat them is a bit afraid. So the technique of the fish that wants to eat them is to separate them. Once it's separated, they don't eat them. But when you stick together, you have more power. And that's all we see in nature. So that's good to unite and strive for better human rights in Afghanistan, but also remembering that human rights have to be everywhere established, otherwise it's too small. If only Afghanistan is human rights, then you will also not have real peace and justice in the whole world. So most organizations, they start with human rights for their own kind of goal or group, but actually it's only secure when the whole world has human rights. That's why it started from the United Nations, with the ideal after the Second World War to stop all wars and to have human rights. What happened with the United Nations is that everybody was invited to become a member, whatever he did with human rights. That's why we have not actually a value system. If you go to the United Nations building, you see the values that is supposed to come from the creator, however you call it. In the United Nations building, there's only a very small room where you can pray. There's a very small window where some light comes through. That is really reflecting how the situation is. That the values that's coming from the creator, that's not so central as the kind of interest that all the nations have. So the more they center on selfish interest, the more you get a lot of paperwork, bureaucracy, but not so many results in human rights. So it's the paper tiger. And one of the goals of UPF, the Universal Peace Federation, is to reform the United Nations by centering itself again on these human rights and values. So if a country is not applying human rights, it needs to come to the court in The Hague, they say. And sometimes they say this in law, but nobody picks the dictator up to come to The Hague. And of course, China or Russia is against it, or the United States. And so a matter of interest. So the first point is also not to be selfish, but to see the common interests. So the vision of the Universal Peace Federation is humanity as one family under God, where people live for the sake of the others, centered on universal values and working together by the power of true love. And the word love is, of course, something idealistic, but actually it's basic for all human beings. And without love, we were not here, I suppose. And love is very fundamental. And love should be centered not on yourself, but on your common goal, and that means universal values. values, you get them from the creator. And in politics, they don't like so much religion, because when religion comes in, it comes in sometimes with a kind of wrong motivation or wrong practice, and starting to become another type of totalitarian system. And that's why, especially in Western countries, we are a bit afraid of religion, because we had bad experiences with religious people in the past. But they forget that when you only see the bad things of the practice of religion, you have also the value of religion, the central values, and that are good values. And most people believe in the golden rule, and maybe here everybody likes that. And of course, in business they say this is not good enough, the golden rule. You have a higher rule, platina rule. So when I like to eat something which you don't like to eat, then the golden rule says I can offer it to you, but maybe you don't like it. The platina rule says first check what he really likes and then give it to him. So you have to do more effort to get to know each other. So in religion, the values are that everybody is created from God, so there you get your values from. You better be not dependent on somebody else who gives you the value, because he might change his mind the next day and then you have no value. But that is what happened in many dictatorships. Only the people who support government have value and the rest sometimes have no value. So values are very important. Most religions say you are created by the Creator, and therefore you have value, and you are a child of God, and that is your value. Whether you are disabled, whether you are a woman, whether you are a man or a child, we all have the same value. And if we recognize this and practice this, then the world will already change, and the Creator will be also happy. So another point that we have is, why do we have actually all these problems in the world? Because everybody wants to have peace. Who's against peace? Nobody. But still we have war. And that's one point that the founder of UPF investigated. And the big problem is that we are not really connected to the Creator. And there's some barrier that makes us do evil things. So we have to come back to the Creator completely. And one religious person recently said we have to have God in our genes. And in Christianity, for instance, Jesus said we don't have God in our genes, but the anti-God often. And so we have a more easy inclination to do evil than to do goodness. So that has to change if you want to practice your rights very much. You really have to be connected to the core values of the religions. That's why UPF holds conferences with people from different religions and try to show what is our common base. And instead of fighting each other over the truth, we have to see what can we offer from our religion for the higher purpose, for world peace, for instance. So instead of thinking, well, I have the truth, so I have to say that to everybody, that's also possible. You can have dialogues and debates, but your heart should be, we have to work together to make this world, this earth, a good place to live for everybody. And if we can create that, then everybody has similar economic and social circumstances, then there will be more peace, of course. Now there's too many differences. So the activities of UPF is basically education, having conferences, helping to build the schools, also educate people about human rights based on our vision, fact-finding tours, where often people have all kinds of ideas about other people, but they never met them. So it's better to meet and see who they are, and then you can see you're all human beings with the same kind of basic values and basic needs. So fact-finding tours we did with students from America and students from Russia in the time that Russia still was a communist country. Also, my first kind of involvement with Afghanistan was actually in Amsterdam once. Then there was action for against the United States. They wanted the United States to retreat from South America and Central America. We put a cross in front of the United States consulate in Amsterdam. But next to the consulate in Amsterdam, there's the Russian building, and they have also an office there. So in that same time, Russia was in Afghanistan. They tried to conquer that. So we put a cross in front of this Russian building against Afghanistan. And then we've got a whole discussion about the two crosses, because the Russians want to use that cross against them and to be taken away immediately, while other people said the American cross against America can stay. And there was a dispute. So that was the first time I somehow was involved with Afghanistan, because at that time we were fighting against the communism. We think communism is not the best system for the Netherlands. We saw what Stalin and Marx could what people did with human rights. So the advice, I'm also asked to give you some advice. Well, you need a vision. If you have a foundation for human rights, you at least need to have some vision about human rights and about what you want. You have to create supporters. Many organizations, they ask for donations from governments, but then you are also dependent on governments. Governments can sometimes have money, but sometimes they have no money, like now at this time. So the best way is to have supporters, many supporters who give small donations, and then you have a base to work with these donations. Then, you have to have the same heart, of course. If you really want to do something for human rights, you have to be able to offer something for that. And maybe you have to offer some television programs, either you have to go to a meeting, or you skip your holiday and be involved in some activity or a fact-finding tour. Have also meetings so that people get to know each other, become friends, and practice human rights first among yourselves. And that is logical, of course, but sometimes we don't do that so easily. And have projects and listen to each other very much. Also, you need some vision maybe for your country. And Christopher has a name at least. I sometimes see Afghanistan with these high mountains and snow and so on, so it reminds us in Europe of Switzerland. So maybe Switzerland could be an interesting model for you. There's also many different peoples with different languages, but they still manage to work together. And they made, of course, many tunnels and trains and got electricity from the water coming down from the mountains. So that is something that Switzerland has, and you can have the same problem. And you are in the middle of Asia, and so if there's traffic going up and down, that would benefit you very much, I think. So have a vision for your nation, also be practical. And there are models in the world where people from different kind of languages and backgrounds live together. Switzerland is a special model, because normally a nation has one language, but Switzerland doesn't have one language. There's Italian, German, French, and some people speak also English. So that has some unity, but unity not only by language. And so this would be a model. Then many people focus on democracy, but what is the same as human rights is democracy needs also good people. So if you only have democracy, then sometimes people are selfish and they choose leaders.
از این خاطر